Hello and welcome back. This is Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana, and you are watching Marksman TV. Today's video is a tabletop overview of the Glock 19X, the new Glock Model 45, and then the Generation 5 Glock 19. Now this is mainly just going to be a characteristic overview of what are the differences between the three. Like I've said, I am a gun store owner and I do have these for sale in my shop. A lot of people have come in and wondered, what's new about the Glock Model 45 or the 19X, or what did they change and the generational differences. So that is going to be the topic of this video. I'm going to stay away from sort of details about build construction and stuff like that. That is all covered in other videos very extensively, which I will leave links down in the description. Anyway, if that sounds interesting to you, please stick around. That's coming up now. So let's go ahead and start with the changes from the Gen 4 to the Gen 5 Glock 19. So the Gen 4, they incorporated more aggressive texturing on the grip. You did keep the finger grooves here, which was a holdover from the Generation 3 that this came from. They enlarged the cutout on the right-hand side of the pistol for the magazine release, so it could be reversed if you are a left-handed shooter. They did keep the gas nitrided finish that was on the Generation 3. They did keep the 5-groove polygonal rifling, so it's more of a hills and valleys as opposed to sharp lanes and grooves that Glock is sort of very popular for. And that was essentially the configuration of the Generation 4. Now moving into the Generation 5, the changes that were made is we kept the aggressive texturing, we kept the back straps. That was something that they added for the Gen 4 was the back straps I forgot to mention. Now, the first thing they did is they deleted the finger grooves on the front of the grip frame. So a lot of people would complain on the Generation 3 and 4 is if your fingers didn't align correctly within those grooves, it made your grip really awkward. Especially a lot of people complained with their finger rubbing up here in this groove, or the grooves forcing their fingers to sit or their hand to sit in a very unnatural way. So by deleting those grooves, you get rid of that problem. That was never an issue for me, but I've seen a lot of customers, or enough customers to know that that was definitely a positive upgrade. Now another thing they did up here on the front is they added a cutout here, and that was to allow quick magazine changes, because you could grab into that little shelf there on the enlarged magazine floor plate. That was something else they changed, and kind of yank that out of there and of course slide in your new one. Now, and a lot of people, myself included, my pinky kind of rests over that and it feels a little bit weird to me. That's something personally I wish that they had left off, but that is one change. Now, the magazine itself, they did add a larger floor plate, and they changed it to an orange follower. So that orange follower is the quickest way you can tell you're looking at a Generation 5 magazine, and that's of course for all of their Generation 5 models that are out currently. Now the slide stop, they did make ambidextrous to kind of go around along with the reversible feature of the magazine release we saw on the Generation 4. So if you're left-handed, this has become even more ambidextrous friendly for you. Now the finish on the pistol was changed from the gas nitride to the NDLC. You do get that coating on both the slide and the barrel. Now the barrel is now a 6-groove as opposed to a 5-groove. Again, polygonal rifling, so you didn't leave that, that stayed the same. And they've added a target crown, and they call this their GMB, or the Glock Marksman barrel. Another thing they did is they simplified the internals, so you will see a single pin design here as opposed to the 2-pin design on the Generation 4. And Glock also mentioned that they lightened up the trigger. I personally haven't noticed much of a difference playing with it, but other people have. It's a minor subtle difference, if you will. Additionally, up here on the slide, they did bevel the front end. That is the same feature you're going to see on the baby Glocks, traditionally the Glock 26 and 27. Again, allowing it to guide back into the holster. And then they did flare out the base of the grip frame, so that is to help guide magazines more smoothly into the frame, of course, for magazine changes. And those are essentially the changes they made from the Gen 4 to the Gen 5. Now we bring in the 19X, and of course here I have the Generation 5 19, here's the 19X. X comes from, it's a crossover from the Glock 17 to the Glock 19. So what you have here is a Glock 17 frame and a Glock 19 slide. So that's kind of our first change here. Here is a Glock 17. So you can see in comparison to the 19, Generation 5 17, Generation 5 19, there's really only one difference between the two, and that's the size. So the grip is a little bit longer, giving you a magazine capacity of 17 rounds, and the barrel is a little bit longer here, which is going to give you a little bit more velocity, a little bit more accuracy. So this is a hybrid of these two, taking this frame and this slide and shortening the frame so that the slide matches up in length correctly. So of course you have a grip frame that's a little bit larger that can take your 17 round magazines flush, and you get the a little bit concealability or the shorter package of the compact Glock, the Glock 19. Now, one point of note is, of course, you can take Glock 17 mags and put them in the Glock 19. You get a magazine sleeve or anything like that to kind of increase the what am I trying to say, the features of the grip, to make it more elongated so it's not just sticking out. See what I mean? How it'll stick out there. You can get a sleeve to cover that, and then again you will have sort of the idea of an elongated grip with a 17 round magazine. Anyway, you can also fit 33 round stick mags, 19 round magazines, whatever you want to do. Now, the 19X did release in the midst of the release of the Generation 5 Glocks, but there is a lot of Generation 5 features omitted from the 19X, and the reason the 19X came about is it is the civilian offering of the model that was offered by Glock for the XM17 military pistols trials that the SIG P320 or Model M17 ended up winning. So it's a little bit of a departure from Glock's standard catalog, but I do like the fact that they did offer it for purchase to the civilian market because it is a really cool design in my opinion. But anyway, moving on from the big difference, of course, from the from the Glock 19 slide and 17 frame, there are some holdovers from the Generation 5, and there are some things from the Generation 5 that they left out. So they did keep the new Generation 5 barrel with the 6 groove and the target crown. They did bevel the front end, like we saw as an upgrade. They did delete the finger grooves. You kept the interchangeable backstrap system. That's pretty much how Glock met modularity. This does come standard now with steel night sights as opposed to the polymer U-dot sights that come on most Glocks, but you can get night sight configurations on the Generation 5s, it's not a problem. They kept the ambidextrous controls, but a couple of the things that they did leave out is the beveled the beveled bottom end of the grip frame. They did not go ahead and include on the 19X. Also, you will notice sort of this hangover here on the front instead of the cutout. Even the Generation 5 17 had this cutout. They left that off on the 19X, which I'm glad they did because I don't really like that personally. Then they added this lanyard ring. That's sort of a military feature. It was not a requirement for the XM17 program, but Glock decided to go ahead and add that and leave it on the civilian version, which is fine. Now on the military offering, they did have, because of the requirements, a thumb safety, which Glock of course left off for the civilian version. The other difference is the NPVD coating, which is sort of this coyote tan. Again, part of the military trial features of this pistol. And now we have a full sort of coyote tan color configuration. Now, this is the first OEM in-house done by Glock color option. Now, there were different color options offered as like Lipsy's exclusives or SHOT Show exclusives, but those are usually done out of house. This is the first one actually done by Glock, so just a little bit of a little factoid there. They kept the single pin design from the Generation 5 changeover as well. So now let's bring in the newest offering, the Glock Model 45. Well, this is going to be sort of a hybrid of both of these, sort of realized into this design. So Model 45, a lot of people will see this and they will think, oh, it's a 45 caliber. No, models, and just so you guys know, the model configurations are based on the order in which the patent was done. So the Glock Model 17 was Glock's 17th patent. The Glock 18, which is the fully automatic version of the 17, was Glock 18's patent. The Glock 19, Glock's 19th patent, so on and so forth until we get to the latest model, the Glock Model 45, is the 45th patent, so that's all that means. This is a 9mm and is part of sort of the Glock 19/17 family. It's in the 9mm lineup. So what we have here is we have a complete Generation 5 handgun. So every feature from the Generation 5 Glock 19 is going to be the same here, except for a few things, and that is we have added front slide serrations, and they did not include the cutout on the front of the grip frame, just like on the 19X. So that's one feature they kept from here, which again, I like. I think a lot of people were having issues with that, so they deleted it. It just sits weird on your pinky if you have larger hands, especially, you know, on the Glock 17. On the 19, I have kind of medium to small size hands. It even bothers me a lot. It's just, again, personal preference. I shouldn't complain, I know. You kept the ambidextrous controls, so the ambidextrous side release on all three, plus the reversible magazine release, interchangeable backstrap system, deletion of the finger grooves. Now, this has the flared out mag well, which you get on the Generation 5 as standard, but not on the 19X. This, of course, has the Glock 19 slide and the Glock 17 frame as we had on the Glock 19X, but now we're back to the NDLC coating, on just like all the other Generation 5s, on both the slide and the barrel. Now this one comes standard with the Glock horseshoe or U-dot sights, just like the Gen 5, but not the 19X. The Generation 5 barrel is of course the same on both, and that's pretty much it. So we have a, if you want to look at it this way, you have a 19X here, which is just black with the original coating, front slide serrations, and a flared out magwell, and standard sights. Or you have a Generation 5 19-17 hybrid, which has all the Generation 5 features except for the cutout on the front of the grip frame, and that's pretty much it. Well, plus the front slide serrations. And those are the intricacies and changes that were done generationally. Now, I'm going to leave, like I said in the intro, I'm going to leave down in the description. If you want to know all the changes that were made across all generations, I have a video on that, and I will leave that down in the description. If you want a detailed feature characteristic video, explanation of the XM17 program and all of that, also this compared with the the SIG P320, and then later the XM17, I have videos on those. I will leave those down in the description. And if you want to see videos of kind of focusing more on the Generation 5 firearms and more about the coatings, the weight, the trigger pulls, and all of that, I have a video on that as well. So go down into the description to see kind of a library of all of this in further detail. But again, this was just to show you what are just the overall arching differences between these models. I get that question all the time in the store. Well, that is all the time I have for you today on these. Thank you guys so much for stopping in and checking this out. If you have any questions, please leave those down in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, please leave me a like. And if you want to see more videos like this, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Again, I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana. You are watching Marksman TV. I will see you next time.